Welcome back to the 9. Tomorrow, the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, goes into effect across the European Union. You've probably been getting notices from many of the sites and apps you use about changes to their policy. Now, first, the GDPR is the toughest regulation on data privacy since smartphones came onto the market. It'll give people more control over their personal data and force companies to make sure the way they collect, process, and store that data is safe. Websites and apps we all use, such as Google, Facebook, Twitter, so many others that also have customers in the European Union, will need to comply, even though those companies are based here at home in the United States. So let's discuss this more. Happy to be joined this morning by Hilary Wandall, Chief Data Governance Officer at TrustArc. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
First, let's talk about those emails that I'm getting about updates to these sites' policies. I'm clicking I agree without reading a thing. Oh. What am I agreeing to?
You are agreeing to receive additional communications from the companies who are sending those emails to you. A lot of companies actually aren't always asking you to agree, though. They're just updating you on their policies and the fact that their practices have had to change as a result of GDPR.
Let's talk about GDPR. What are the new restrictions in effect in the European Union?
So the new restrictions that come into effect this afternoon here and midnight in Brussels are actually a number of things. First of all, companies need to, and including companies here in the U.S., need to make sure they're managing individual rights much more broadly than they did before. They need to make sure that they have much stronger protections in place for being transparent and for informing people what their lawful basis of processing are. So a lot of the emails you're getting are actually telling you all about that.
So if I'm, let's say, Twitter, and I have customers in the EU and I have customers in the United States, am I treating those two groups of customers differently?
So Twitter maybe. It depends on particular companies are doing things in different ways. So if you are a company that has citizens or people in the EU that you're interacting with, you need to make sure that you're following GDPR. What a lot of companies are doing, including many that I work with, are actually expanding the protections to everybody that they interact with. And so they're applying us the same protections to people who are U.S. citizens as well as people who are in Europe.
But the companies that are doing that because they want to, not because they have to.
The companies do not have to apply the protections to U.S. citizens, but in many cases they are doing it because they want to.
Do you think we'll ever see such broad regulation here in the United States?
It's hard to say. So many have tried to get the United States to adopt a much broader law than we have today. So we have sectoral laws. We have the laws that regulate privacy in the healthcare space, like HIPAA. We have the financial privacy laws. We have the state laws, like we have many here in California. I think the challenge is the way in which our government is structured in some ways makes it harder to have oversight by a single regulator, which is what happens in the European Union.
Do retailers especially look at what's happening with the GDPR and think, you're hurting my marketplace? If I can't read the mind of my potential customer, how do I know to advertise to him and her through, let's say, her pictures of her Hawaiian vacation? Is that the argument against GDPR coming to the States, or one of them?
A lot of people believe that they will no longer be able to conduct business the way that they have before, but in fact that's not true. GDPR does still allow companies to be very innovative, but it requires them to be innovative in different ways. And so what that means is it requires the companies think about privacy not as a policy on a website or just some practices behind the scenes, but actually more as part of their business strategy. And so what a lot of companies are doing is they're looking at, how do I design privacy into the way I'm interacting with my customer? How do I make sure that it's part of my business decision making, part of the technologies that I'm offering? And that's actually allowing companies to innovate in new ways. I think where people are challenged is trying to follow old business models where GDPR does restrict and not being willing to necessarily innovate in new ways that actually GDPR would promote.
Okay, things are moving at lightning speed.
They are.
All right, I want to get our viewers some more information. You might have questions about what you need to do and what to look out for. We have that information for you on KTVU.com. You'll find it in the web link section of the Mornings on 2 tab. You'll also find it on the KTVU mobile app. Thank you so much, Hilary Wandall of TrustArc.
Thank you.
Of course.